Let's roll. Hey, this is Joe Corneli, joined by some of our fabulous peeragogues and the progenitor of peeragogy himself, Howard Rheingold, who's here to introduce us, interview us, and so forth. But I'm introducing him, and he will tell you all what to expect in the next few minutes of this video. Over to you, Howard.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, folks. Today's a little bit different from previous interviews. We're going to interview a small community of creators today, and I will ask them to introduce themselves in a minute. But you might remember that almost 5 years ago in January, the Peeragogy Handbook project started as a way to create and assemble resources around how a group of people who are interested in learning together can organize peer learning using the technologies that are available right now, even though none of them may be the subject matter expert. So this is sort of taking the idea of co-learning, which I spoke about in regard to my teaching, and which many other instructors are using, which gives more of the power and responsibility for learning to the students and backs off a lot from the old paradigm of the teacher being the only expert in the classroom who's delivering knowledge to others. This takes it to the next step about what if we eliminate the teacher altogether? Can a group of people, particularly these days, now that we have technologies like this, like Hangouts available, how can we go about learning together? So it's interesting to note that at the beginning of this, I met with a number of graduate students and faculty at UC Berkeley, and I put my laptop on the table during those meetings and had it open to the rest of the world. And after a couple of months, all of the faculty and graduate students from Cal had dropped out, and a group of people who I had never met and who had never met each other before, literally from all around the world, several different continents, had gathered to create this handbook, which is now available. And I did lead the project at the beginning, but dropped out of it, and it became an exercise in peeragogy. It became a self-organized project, and I drop in from time to time, but really the folks that you are about to meet are the ones who meet every week and who have been working on updating the resource. So I'm going to turn it over to you to make some brief introductions, and then tell me about what's been happening in the last 5 years, where the handbook has gone, and what the community is all about. So maybe we'll start with Charlie.
Hi. My name is Charlie. I'm based out of Chicago, and I have a background working in English as a second language, and I've been working on peer learning for the past about 5 years, like Howard said, and I was working with Joe on it, and then I was in one of Howard's amazing courses, amplifying mind amplifiers, and yeah, one thing led to another, and now I'm very excited to be part of the handbook and working with all these amazing people.
Yeah, Charlie's calling in from someplace interesting in Chicago, it looks like.
I think he's on a carousel or something.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, maybe I'll go next. I just wanted to show, here's a visual aid. I have the Peeragogy Handbook version 1.0. This says first edition, 1st of January 2013. I don't know if you guys can see that, probably not, but there it is from the 1st of January 2013. So indeed, things have come quite a long ways since then, because we're on the 3rd edition, is like any time now. We did a 2nd edition, which was maybe not as different from the 1st edition as the third is from the second. But you know, the introduction of the handbook, if you go on to peeragogy.org, if you type that into your browser, you'll see one of the first things it says on the introduction is that it's not really a traditional book. Like, yes, you can buy the book, and we hope people will buy the book. But where did you ever buy a book that would ask you to also become a co-author? That's quite a weird thing. Of course, it's useful even if you don't co-author it. But anyway, that's part of the invitation. And so we've got a community. We've got these hangouts which are happening regularly. We have them pretty much every week, at least since Charlotte joined the project, or thereabouts. So yeah, maybe we should go over to Charlotte, because if we go kind of in a, well, you know, Doug and Paula were there as well from the very early days. I don't know, it would be between the three of them who was here earliest. Maybe we should go to any of them. I said Charlotte.
Before we do that, Joe, I'd like to ask everyone to just take a few seconds to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and where you are.
Okay. So, well, I also had another visual aid. So, I did a PhD thesis on peer-produced peer learning recently.
Wow.
Got a PhD in 2014. So, in addition to the handbook, I'm in England. I did the PhD at the Open University, and it seemed like a great place to, you know, a great place to work on open ideas and so on and so forth. But now I'm at Goldsmiths College, and I have a postdoc in the computer science department. But I would say that yes, the idea of like doing a PhD is hard work, and then jumping into like writing another book during the PhD process was quite a lot of work as well. But it provided an interesting avenue for research, and I think that the Peeragogy Project definitely has its fingerprints all over my PhD thesis, so that's something. But that was it says 2014 on there, but it feels like that was a while ago too. It took quite a bit of time to polish that up and finish it. So I'm now free of that process though, and even thinking about the next job though, but probably someplace in England for the next year.
Julia, would you unmute and take a few seconds to tell us who you are and where you are and what you're doing with the project? Julia? Okay, maybe she's not available. Laura, how about unmuting and tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is Laura, and I teach at the University of Chichester in England, where I'm in the music department, and I've written degrees in instrumental teaching and vocal teaching, and I run performance courses, and I'm probably the newest person here coming to the project, but I'm one of these people like many teachers out there. I've been following it for quite a while. So I met Howard through Connected Courses just over a year ago, and have linked up with various people and been using the ideas and methodology and some of the things with peeragogy through lots of my teaching. So that's where I'm at.
Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about your part of the project?
Sure. My name is Lisa Snow McDonald. I'm based in LA. I'm a marketing and communications consultant with a background in media psychology. I met Howard at UC Irvine probably about 2 years ago. My interest in peeragogy is a little different, but it reflects a similar paradigm shift. So I'm interested in peeragogy as it relates to its impact on business and management, and making business and management more efficient and utilizing their human resources more effectively.
Great. You know, I think it's important to emphasize that we've always tried to expand this. It started for self-learners that we presumed were adult self-learners, and then people have said, well, we need something for high school, we need something for elementary school, we need something for the business world. So this is definitely part of the way the world works in a lot of different ways these days. We don't need to go to school to learn everything that we need to learn. So, Paola.
Hi, I'm Paola, and I'm from Ecuador, but I live in Mexico. I teach at the university, And now I'm in Madrid at the Media Lab Prado in a workshop. And what's my interest in pedagogy? Well, I'm interested in peer learning and peer production. I'm a teacher, and for me, it's important to not only to discuss, but also to prove that we can do great things together. And I think this project has taught me that if you have common goals and common causes, you can achieve high goals together, and that's it.
All right, Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm Charlotte Pierce. I'm a publisher, micro publisher, boutique publisher in the Boston, Massachusetts area of the United States, and I'm one of the editors of the Peeragogy Handbook. I learned about peeragogy and patterns and a lot of other stuff that's in the book by doing the handbook. I got involved in production of it because I'm a publisher, and just really did soak it up and got very, very excited about especially the patterns. Patterns for successful peer learning and peer production enterprises, and we've worked on those over the years. I first met Howard through one of his courses as well, and then after that I saw that Joe and Fabrizio Terzi, who was one of our Italian friends, were kind of rattling around in the forums, not knowing who else was involved, and I thought they need a little company. So that's kind of a backwards way of saying how I got here, but this is the best, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about this later, but this is the best collegial working experience that I've really ever had, and I'm trying to find ways to apply it to other things that I do, so thanks.
You don't have to wait for me to introduce yourself, so jump right in.
I think Julia may want to do that now.
Okay. Julia, I'm unmuted. You need to unmute.
Now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello to everybody. Here I'm back again, and my name is Julia, and I'm what you can call now instructional designer. I have been in the field of education for more than 20 years, and at the beginning I was very interested, and I did work with giving courses about marketing, how to use technology into the business processes, and then I began to being a teacher. I began to introduce technology into my teaching. So I got into e-learning, b-learning, flipped classroom, and well, that's my background. And actually, I'm a consultant, and I have my own school where I made my online courses and try to sell it. And well, that's me. And it's nice to be here with all of you.
Doug.
I think I'm last. My name is Doug Breitbart. I'm based in the greater New York metro area, and I'm an attorney and corporate consultant and individual and corporate coach, and I teach and facilitate personal growth workshops in Israel currently. I came to the project early and staked a claim to the metacognition meme in the original draft, and have been sort of continuing with that and working with that ever since. And in the context of the process, I've been basically a catalyst and provocateur. I tend to drop in and stir the soup and make suggestions and help a little bit, but the core group has really carried the yeoman's load of the work in terms of translating a lot of that into reality. And my driver on this has been mapping it to the actual handbook idea and meme of how can people come together in a 3.0 world way without a leader and a defined structure and defined mandate and authority structure, and learn how to work and play together. And that's pretty much my life's work at this point. And I'm complete.
Thank you, Doug. Why don't we start again with Charlie, and what our readers and viewers are going to be interested in is, first of all, what's new in the new edition of the handbook, the 3.0 edition, and tell us about what the community has been doing with these hangouts and group editing. How is the community developing, and how might others join?
All right, great question. So I'm not going to talk too long because I got a little soundtrack here, but the community, so every Monday, Charlotte and Joe do an amazing job leading these incredible hangouts, which are archived on our YouTube channel, and which anybody is free to join. Monday at noon Central Time, it's GMT, I think it's 6 p.m. GMT or 5 p.m. GMT. And we do that. We just kind of hang out and talk about different projects people have going on in their own lives, as well as what's happening with the handbook. Some of the changes, the biggest change to the handbook in the third edition, we have a new amazing cover from Amanda Lyons, who's this brilliant graphic designer who's not on the call today, but she's really good. And so there's been structural changes, and then the one area of focus is the pattern catalog that Charlotte mentioned. We took the patterns that were kind of like a list of a shortened list, and we've turned it into this, Joe especially, and Charlotte, Paolo, and Lisa have also been working on it, this amazing paper that it's been accepted into the Pattern Languages of Programming Conference that's coming up at the end of October in Pittsburgh, that some of us will be attending, and so those are just really, it's kind of a easy way to get started with peeragogy, I would say, would be the pattern paper. There's one of the easy ways. It's just specific ways in which the different parts of the project are described and explains how we do what we do and how it sometimes we apply it to other contexts. Additionally, we have a newcomer guide that's available on the website and peeragogy.org. You can get started there, or there's contact information there to get in touch with us. And aside from that, other things that have happened, in August, Paula and I got together in Mexico City, which was amazing. She was really cool, a great host, and we went to Wikimania 2015 to present about peeragogy, and that was really fun. And yeah, I think maybe Joe can expand on that, what I said, about things that are happening. And
yeah, that's all good. I think you know, another thing, it might have been a couple years ago, I went to present in Newcastle. We didn't have a huge audience, but it was at an OER project. So I think it's really worth noticing that, like, we have a fairly global scope with people on the continent, UK, US, Mexico City. Paula's got us hooked up with some people in Argentina who want a kind of short summary of what peeragogy is all about. So perhaps this interview will filter its way over into that blog post to Argentina in translation. So we're starting to have a bit of global reach, and we can put ideas into practice in different places. I mean, I was just looking back at version 1 and looking at the pattern catalog, and it's very primitive. I mean, we just have these paragraphs that are short summaries of ideas, and in the paper we've gotten a huge amount of feedback and critique from people who write patterns often for software design and software architecture, but given us a lot of feedback about how to make sense of our ideas to an audience who will actually use them, and that's what's coming up in Pittsburgh, is more of that kind of hands-on shepherding, they call it. So I think a lot of our ideas have been increasingly tested in practice. Maybe Paola can say more about what she's doing in Spain as like another cool next edition. So we're always looking for some next thing. And yeah, as Charlie said, people can get involved. They can get involved. All the materials are now on GitHub, so you can contribute there. Fabrizio and I have been working a bit on improving the website. You can contribute to that process. There's lots of ways to get involved. And if you have different skills or different ideas, then bring them. Probably the first point of contact for people these days is often the Google Plus thing, or we have a Google group as well. For complete newcomers who've never seen us before, you can just drop by there.
I'd also add there's Lisa Snow Down was on the call. She made some really good videos that can be kind of a helpful start to peeragogy. We'll put the links to those in the event page for today, but those are really good. And then, Charlotte, is there anything else that Joe and I missed that you want to add in terms of things that have been happening and ways to get involved?
Well, one big focus of mine has been to try and apply the things that we are developing and extracting from our experiences and observations into patterns, to apply them in other situations besides peeragogy, sort of a self-referential exercise. But so I've been, it's just in the very beginning phases for me, but I'm president of the Independent Publishers of New England, which is a volunteer-run organization for about 200 publishers in New England, the 6 states, and it's been occasionally not fully functional. I won't say dysfunctional. So I'm taking a look at some of the patterns and trying to apply them in situations where I'm having challenges running the organization and getting people to talk to each other and collaborate and cooperate. And I actually am applying some of the very specific things that we've been talking about in this pattern catalog that we developed for the conference in October. Yeah, so real, varying up the types of technology, trying to reach out to people on their own level or their own platform. So, might actually have to make a phone call instead of a hangout. And then there's just a lot of things that seem to be working. And the cool thing is that the Peeragogy colleagues have offered to have regular conferences with me about that, and they have. That's been, I think, a really practical outcome of this project. And we're hoping to get more case studies, and there are more in this book, in this version of the book. So.
But before we move on to Laura, who's going to kind of give us the perspective of a newcomer here, I wonder, Charlotte, can you give us an example of what you mean by a pattern?
Okay, a pattern might be, oh gosh, well, the Hangout is a pattern. It's getting people together in a platform where they can see each other and read lots of cues besides just the digital representation of language. So, real life interactions might be a pattern. I actually never knew about patterns before starting on this project, so I was very delighted to investigate this stuff, but I think that's one of them.
Okay, thanks. Laura, you joined the project pretty recently. We'd love to hear the perspective of a newbie and what others might expect when they join.
Well, I had a hugely warm welcome. I mean, as you'll remember, Howard will remember, I wrote to him nearly a year ago saying, can I get involved? And he said yes. And it's taken me quite a long time to actually get involved. I've watched the Hangouts, and I thought, oh, that's a bit daunting. You know, what if I don't have anything to say? What if I don't have anything to contribute? What if my specialism or my experience isn't valued? And actually, I've been nothing but welcomed. And what Charlotte said is completely true. Seeing people and having people to talk about, about the things that we're all doing in our separate areas and how they relate and how we can help each other and how we can learn from each other, exactly what peeragogy is about, has been hugely positive and encouraging. And my only regret is that I didn't get involved sooner. So it doesn't have to be that you necessarily are going to write a whole chapter right away. I'm hoping that I will be able to contribute something of value to the book, but I think the hangout in itself and the experience of meeting these people across the globe and talking to them has been absolutely fantastic. 2 thumbs up. Can't hear you, Howard.
You know, I think it's worth pointing out that the way we've gone about creating the handbook and the community has been an experiment and example of what we're talking about. Here we are, I count, at least, people are in at least 3 different countries, and often it's been more, and we use and experiment with whatever media seem to work and whatever methodologies seem to work, and over a period of time we've figured out what is the best way to move forward on this. It's not just about talking to each other. We're actually putting out a product and have created a learning community around it. So yes, 2 people in Spain, US, and UK. So okay, Doug, you ready?
Yep. I've been working for the last 6 months on an approach to large global corporations and how to catalyze transformation in them in the form of awakening the human beings in them and activating them in service to transforming these entities from the global Darth Vader bad actors that they tend to be in our world to agents for good in a 3.0 way. And peeragogy has been very much one of the crucibles of my thinking in terms of the approach that I'm taking in how to go about that. And I think the biggest piece of the puzzle for me that has come out of this project, and the one that I keep driving on whenever we get together, is I think it may still have its most valuable insights and elements to reveal as a project in figuring out and distilling out the actual tools and mechanics and dynamics. I think, you know, a pattern visualization of those or articulation of those is one approach, but I think there's a real mechanical dynamic to what's been learned and what's been most in service and effective in helping this group of people to achieve what they've achieved. And in the projects that I'm targeting toward these behemoth organizations, some of the lessons learned here are absolutely applicable there. In terms of a non-hierarchical, non-organized and structured catalyzing of people's voices. So, and I'm complete.
Paola, I know that you've been a steadfast member of the project from the beginning, and whenever I check in on a Hangout, you're there. Tell us a little bit about what you are doing with Peeragogy and how you see the project.
Well, I want to begin first answering your question. You're asking about patterns, and we have found that patterns are something that you can find always regularly in a process or in a place. So we have found that patterns help us to like organize the work that we are doing. We have found that roles are important. Some roles are important among the group. We have found that some processes are important too, and that's what we are discussing about these days. Which patterns are useful for our work together? What helps us to learn together better? And basically, what I have been doing is just joining the conversation, thinking together with the group, and learning together. Of course, we have been doing a lot of things. As Charlie told you, we have been presenting papers and conferences. We have been giving workshops around the world. Now I'm here in another workshop. We are working with this amazing lab. It's a citizen lab, and they also think themselves as a learning community. So I think we have to find these special places where people are trying to experiment, to learn together in different ways, doing things with others in terms of some basic principles of solidarity and mutual trust. I think it's important, and we have to keep working and trying to repeat this pattern of of learning together everywhere we can, everywhere.
Thank you, Paula. Julia, can you tell us about your involvement in the project? First, you need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the thing was that last year I took a MOOC with Stanford, and it was called Changing in the Global Course of Learning. And well, I met Fabrizio, and he invited me to Peeragogy group. And my proposal at the beginning was to Peeragogy to take to make a course about anything. In this case was creative thinking through peer collaboration, and we failed. But we failed with the course going on with the course just because we didn't have a pattern when we began with this project. A pattern, it's really very necessary because there are certain things that we should do for any project. Is to have the idea, the goal, and strategies, objective, well, everything. I mean, there is a pattern that if we follow those things, it's like to make a business plan. If you have to think step by step, what do you want to do, how, and once that you have answered this question, go to the next step. And so that is why patterns are so necessary in every kind of project. That's why I got involved with pedagogy, and I will go on working with them because, well, that's just I learn a lot from all of you. So thanks for letting me talk, Howard.
Thank you, Julia. Lisa, do you have anything to add about your involvement and where you see the project going?
It's first of all, I come in with a completely different experience, and it's been a wonderful experience because so many people have an education background, as well as just the dynamic and struggles of the group. So I'm looking for ways in which I can, similar probably a bit to Doug, ways in which this can, I could take these learnings and these findings and help people understand how they can work together more constructively. And so taking a different approach and looking at it from an education standpoint as well as with my practical experience gives me kind of another dimension and a new way of thinking about it. And it's a great group of people to work with and talk to, and consider myself very fortunate.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to bid goodbye for our DML Central viewers at this point, and I know that the Hangout will continue. But I want to thank you for what you've done and what you are doing, and invite others to join what I think you can see is a very welcoming community. There's information on how newcomers can participate at peeragogy.org, and also there's a Hangout you can join, like this one. It's Monday mornings. That's morning from the Pacific time zone point of view, and then there's a Google Plus community. So like Peeragogy itself, there are a lot of different entrances to it and a lot of different takes you can have on it. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks,
Okay, so